Good evening, and welcome to tonight's special presentation, A Seat at the Table, a panel on understudies and swings. I'm Joe Barros, and I'm the Artistic Director of New York Theater Barn. For the past 15 years, New York Theater Barn has created an inclusive home for original culture-shifting musicals during incubation. Since 2007, New York Theater Barn has been providing space, funding, and a safe opportunity to experiment in front of live audiences, often for the first time. We serve underrepresented artists and audiences in our commitment to anti-racist, equity, and anti-oppression ideologies while adopting a decolonial approach to theater making and practice. We believe that there is no formula for musical theater except authenticity. During the pandemic, we pivoted, evolving our programming and storytelling systems to continue supporting artists and the development of original musicals. Since March of 2020, we've showcased the development of 101 original musicals created by 192 writers while making space for over 800 artists. We recently launched a new podcast from Broadway Podcast Network, The Musicals of Tomorrow, and Theater Barn Records, our imprint of Broadway records, released the concept albums Seasons, a new musical song cycle, and Freedom Riders, the civil rights musical, commemorating the 60th anniversary of the historic Freedom Rides. We are currently developing Jesse Sanchez and Jeff Chambers' Sueños, our American musical, which tells the untold story of 3 generations of a Mexican-American family and their pursuit of the American dream. With a team led by Afro-Latina director-choreographer Maria Torres, the show will be featured this summer in Barn on Fire, a new summer residency on Fire Island for 3 original musicals in development. A program mentored by Tony Award-winning director-choreographer Jerry Mitchell, the Barn on Fire residency is a collaboration with the Fire Island Pines Arts Project. Tonight's roundtable follows previous installments in the A Seat at the Table series, with panels on Latinx theater creators, women in the theater, and inclusivity in the theater. Tonight, artists of the American theater will take up space in a roundtable conversation to discuss the obstacles and opportunities that understudies, swings, and standbys are currently facing. New York Theater Barn is committed to creating a safe space to have uncomfortable conversations comfortably, and believes that there is a place for all of us at the seat of the American theater. And now, here's my friend and tonight's moderator, Sirius XM Broadway Radio's Julie James.
Thanks, Joe. Well, good evening. It is such an honor to be the moderator for tonight's panel on understudies and swings. And I'm also so excited to support and lift up New York Theater Barn, a company that is at the forefront of the development of original culture-shifting musicals and the support of artists, especially during the pandemic. The past 2 years have been a tumultuous time for Broadway and the global theater community, to say the least. Understudies and swings have always been the unsung heroes of our stages, and the pandemic gave these essential workers a well-deserved moment in the spotlight. And they are still going on in front of audiences daily, sometimes with only a few minutes' notice. Just last week, the Broadway revival of Company made history when Nikki Renee Daniels went on in the leading role of Bobby, making her the first Black artist to play the character in Broadway history. So before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to thank our patron ticket holders, Suzanne Bachner and Bob Brader. Thank you. And I'd also like to thank our sponsors, Faber-Castell USA. They're known for high-quality professional art supplies and fine writing instruments and accessories. Marché Berber is a brand that brings the most authentic food and home items from Morocco to the US. Broadway Boxed Up is a theater subscription box that is great for theater fans, Broadway lovers, and as a memorable gift. And NH Collection New York Madison Avenue Hotel. Later in the program, we'll be raffling off some incredible prizes in support of New York Theater Barn's innovative programming. You've still got time to purchase more raffle tickets before the sales close at 8 p.m. Eastern. Here are the raffle prize levels. 1 raffle ticket or more makes you eligible to win tickets to acclaimed NYC attractions, The Ride and The Tour. 5 raffle tickets or more makes you eligible to win Broadway and off-Broadway theater tickets to A Strange Loop, Jersey Boys, The Islander, Americano, and Seth Rudetsky's Broadway, featuring Jane Krakowski at the Town Hall. There's also a Broadway merchandise gift box and a Broadway Makers Marketplace basket of theater merchandise. The grand prize level of 15 raffle tickets or more makes you eligible to win a 2-night stay at the new NH Collection New York Madison Avenue Hotel in the heart of Midtown Manhattan, bundled with a pair of tickets to Broadway's long-running revival of Chicago. So let's get started. I'm so excited about this panel. Please help me welcome Company and Aladdin's Catherine Allison, music director and conductor of Diana and Moulin Rouge, Ted Arthur, Hadestown and West Side Stories, Jordan Dobson, choreographer and actor Carla Puno Garcia of Hamilton and West Side Story fame, Dear Evan Hansen and On Your Feet's Linady Hanau, Sunset Boulevard and Hairspray's Karen Mason, The Book of Mormon's J.J. Neiman, and Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder and the Music Man's Kathy Voitko. Welcome, everyone, one and all. I love your energy and seeing your faces here in this room together. Well, let's get to it. I think let's start with the basics. Not everyone may know. What is the difference between understudies, swings, and standbys? And Carla, could we hear from you on that? Maybe. Just maybe. I think we've actually lost Carla, and we were saying during our pre-show check, technology is great until it isn't. So bear with us. We may have a couple of hiccups here or there. Hopefully Carla will rejoin. But, Kathy, you had one of the most notable and visible situations that happened with Music Man. And so you are probably the perfect person to walk us through some of the differentiations of what we're highlighting tonight.
I'd be happy to. A swing is somebody who is an offstage cover who can cover anywhere from 6 to 12 parts. And that means any dancing, any singing, any lines, and you must know each person and be able to perform them at a moment's notice. A standby is usually someone who is hired to cover only principal parts, and there are also internal covers that may have an ensemble track and also cover different people on stage.
That's perfectly said. No surprise. No surprise. Can you, for those that don't know about what I was referring to, I don't know what your internet connection is that you didn't see Hugh Jackman's incredibly gracious and endearing he really highlighted you and everyone that's in your position. And so, but if people don't know what I'm talking about there, didn't get to enjoy that wonderful moment, will you fill us in?
We had a strange situation. Pre-COVID, normally a swing or an understudy wouldn't be on except in a rare instance during previews. But we had a terrible case of COVID slap our cast. And so I had to be Marion Peru on for Sutton Foster on our 4th preview, and we hadn't had any rehearsals for any of our understudies yet, including me. So thank God I did my homework, and nobody died. And the kind and very generous Hugh Jackman said, I'm going to make a little speech at the curtain call, which I thought was just going to be, this is my friend Kathy, and she did the show, hooray. But it turned into a beautiful homage saying that the swings are the bedrock of Broadway. He called every person that was a cover up at the front of the stage and made known to the public that this job exists. I can't tell you how many people, probably all my friends here today, in their own family say, wait, what do you do? Well, not on tonight. I don't, what? So Hugh brought the conversation up to a national level, and I'm forever grateful.
Yeah, and it was right on time.
Yeah,
it was so, because
it was seriously on time.
Yeah, and thank goodness that it is getting a lot more attention and a lot more highlighting simply because of the pandemic. We've been reaching for our silver linings for over 2 years now, and I definitely think that the great attention that's being paid to understudies, swings, and standbys is one of the silver linings, because it's always been important, but now people are really finding out about it. Catherine, Company has also been one of the shows that's kind of in the Broadway news a lot lately because of the latest struggle. I guess it's probably the newest variant is having its way with the Broadway community. But tell us a little bit about how you feel being a member of the theatrical community, especially as it comes to your role being an understudy or a swing.
Sure. I've always felt honored to be a part of this community, and particularly now, this is kind of my first time really venturing into the world of understudying / swinging. And so I've always been a great admirer of swings on every show I've been in. I think it's an incredible task, and to be able to split your brain in that way, I think is incredibly unique, and very few people can do it and do it amazingly well. And so the fact that I am someone who can now do that is wild to me. I don't think anyone who signs up to like swing is like, or for the first time is like, oh, I don't think that's a skill set they think that they can do. And so they're kind of like, yes, exactly, Kathy. They're like, well, I'm gonna hope for the best. And so I think I feel very proud, and I'm very lucky to be a part of a cast who is so supportive and cheering us on every night. And to be there, as you said, when Nikki went on was just like one of the great joys and honors of my life, to see her take on the role of Bobby. And to be able to also play with her this week as Sarah has been really cool too.
I bet. We got Carla back. Yay! Carla, are you able to hear us?
I can hear you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great.
Thanks for letting me back in.
Yes. Could you tell us about some of your experience that you've had? What being an understudy or a swing has meant to you as part of the theatrical community?
Yeah, of course. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we have a little lag, but we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Yeah, I want to say that I also love that we are honoring. Okay. I thank you for honoring swings. You know, I've been in a few Broadway shows, and this is the first time that I was swinging in Hamilton, and I did it for 6 years. And you know, to swing a show like that with all the moving parts, I mean, with any show, it's, you just have such a great appreciation for the work, but also
Rats, I really want to hear what she said.
I know. We're like hanging on her every word. Well, but I think we can kind of glean, you know, between the lines, some of what Carla has. Wow, 6 years. I mean, that's amazing. Now, so we've talked to some of the latest swings and understudies, but I want to go in reverse, because one of the most famous ones that in my experience, that I always heard about was the great Karen Mason. Karen, no pressure, right? I mean, here you are in Sunset Boulevard having to stand by for Glenn Close,
Betty Buckley, and Elaine Page.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we could make the whole show about that. What in the world? I mean, I don't even know how to pose a question about that, but tell us some of your experience having to step into such great shoes, but you yourself are, you know, such a bona fide, you know, force of nature. But what was that like for you?
Well, first of all, I admire each and every one of you who is an understudy and a swing and a standby. It's a very tough job, which I really had no clue about until I was called on to be the standby. And what was interesting to me is I didn't really have any fear about doing it until I actually was called on to do it. I was fine during rehearsal. Well, first of all, a standby, I didn't get any rehearsal. We started rehearsals in August, and I got my first rehearsal on stage with other people the following February. And because they were so busy, they were changing the show, they were fixing it. It was all about Glenn and all of the cast that was going to be on stage. And they kept saying to me, it was fascinating, because some would say to me, be prepared, because she's going to miss. She hasn't done a musical in a long time. But that woman is a tank. She really never missed. She missed once during Tech Week, and she did not miss for a while after that. And, it was really interesting. I hired a director to work with because I was panicking. And I thought, I started having actor dreams, which I am sure each and every one of you has had, which, they're calling me in 5 minutes and I don't know the show. And so I started having those. So I hired a friend of mine who's actually, his name is Justin Ross, and he directed Romeo and Bernadette. And he was out in Los Angeles at the time, and he and I would get together. I hired him to work with me. And by the time I got on stage, which I had about 2 days to preparation for that, because Glenn got a cold or something, and the doctor said, take off Sunday, one of the Sunday performances. We were doing 5-show weekends. And she took off Sunday afternoon. And so I found out about it on Friday. And that's when they started letting me shoot the gun, do the costume changes. Up to that time, I hadn't really had anything on. And those costumes were immense. They were huge, gorgeous things, but coming down the steps in them, walking in them, shooting guns. I mean, the stuff that went wrong when I was on, you can only laugh at it. And, the first time I went on, I don't know if you actually saw the show, but she comes down a very tall, beautiful circular staircase with her hand, on the railing and coming down very quietly, and no music. And there were a lot of dangly things, and they said, if it gets caught, just keep going. Don't stop. Just keep going. So one of my dangly things got caught, and okay, fine. I pushed ahead, ripped it off, and in the quiet, you hear the beads going down the steps. And by the time I got down there, I was so ready to do this show. I mean, we're all performing animals. And so, we want to be on stage. And when you finally get the chance, it's glorious. It's what you've been preparing for. It's what you've been, hoping for. And, unfortunately, Kathy didn't have much time at all, but that woman is prepared. I've done a show with her and she knows stuff. And that's what you have to do. You just have to take the responsibility and do it yourself, because they don't have time to teach you all of that. You have to learn. And that was part of the equation I didn't really know was part of the equation. So it's a fascinating thing to do. I mean, I did it for almost 3 years, covering those 3 ladies.
I want every one of you to put that under your special skills on your resume, because that is a very special skill. It really is its own special set of ability, for your mind to work that way. And it's really miraculous if you think about it, that the mind can even allow you to do such a thing. Thank you for that.
It takes a very, very powerful, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think it takes somebody who's very confident in their abilities to be able to do that. I think you have to be able to say, you know what, if called on, and if it goes wrong, I'll be fine. If something happens, I will get through it. I think it takes a very certain type of personality to accept that role as standby or cover, or especially swing. That blows my mind.
Yeah. I agree with you 1000%. Thank you for that incredible perspective, and that incredible story. I'm going to be thinking about those beads for days. And I'm glad that you didn't slip on any of them, because that's unfortunately where my mind was going next. I'm really so thankful that we have some additional perspective aside from the actors in the room. We have a music director and conductor. Sorry, that's my Dolly. Say hello, Dolly.
Hello, Dolly.
Who gets very tired of my long days on Zoom these days. But Ted Arthur, we want to hear from you, because aside from, it's like swings, they're not just for actors anymore. Ted, a little birdie told me that you were working on Diana on Broadway. That show concluded, and before you knew it, you were flying out to help a show that you had never actually touched, that you had never actually conducted. I hope I have my facts straight, but this is what the little birdie told me. And that you also had to emergency conduct on Moulin Rouge. So please tell us more about what this role means for a conductor.
Well, that's a great question, and totally in theater, a lot of people are stepping in these days and filling spots, on and off stage, and the facts are pretty close. So I went to emergency conduct. Well, I guess it was about December 23rd, and I was home visiting my parents, and I remember it was the afternoon, and I got a text from the music director of the prom tour, and I had actually was the associate music director for the prom in 2018, and so, but it it had been a number of years, and she said, the music director has COVID. A supervisor called me and she said, the music director has COVID. Could you fly out to conduct the show? And I hadn't, I mean, the show closed in, I think, August of 2019. And, when you close a show, you kind of close the book and you're done with it, never thinking you'll go back to it again. And so, kind of closed the door on that in my brain. And then to get a call, end of 21, to say, could you go and conduct the tour? And I was like, oh my gosh. And so, looking at flights, I left 2 days later, I left, and I said, where are they? And they said, well, last week they were in Tampa, Florida. Next week they're in DC. They're in Hershey, Pennsylvania right now. And so, found a flight out there, and I think that morning I got into Hershey and we found out the drummer had COVID. So they flew someone else from New York who had never played the show to learn the show. And there was also one of the reed players in the band. It's a band of, I think, 8. And the reed player, one of the clarinet players, had COVID as well. So we were all coming together for a show with 3 new people in the pit who had never worked with each other. And 2 of them had never done the show. And while I had conducted the show in 2018, the tour, as many of you know, can be slightly different from the Broadway version. And so, I was on the phone with the MD, just going through the differences and the changes. And, the curtain went up at 7 o'clock and we did the show. And it was really exciting and a lot of fun, kind of buckling up and just getting through the show. But it went really well. And it was a great moment. Oh, and then that afternoon, we also found out that both of the leads had COVID as well. So it was all hands on deck. But the show happened and the audience hopefully didn't even know.
That is amazing. That is just, that is mind blowing. But I think it's so great to point up that that of course it's not just the actors on stage, especially during the pandemic. It's not just a regular cold and flu season with the level of contagiousness that everyone's been dealing with together. Of course it's going to happen to the pit musicians. Of course it's going to happen to associate directors or music directors, conductors. It's such a great reminder that and I'm sure that we could probably talk to backstage personnel that have been brought in last minute as well, that don't necessarily work that show but maybe got brought in because of what was going on backstage. It really, I truly salute each and every one of you. It is miraculous what you do. What an interesting story. Well, I also want to get to another show that was in the Broadway headlines recently with some really crazy trickery, and that's Hadestown. Let's talk to Jordan. You were recently affected by the craziness of going on at Hadestown, and I understand you had to be brought in last minute recently as well. Please tell us more.
Yeah, it was kind of wild. Basically, I joined Hadestown a few months ago as a temporary replacement for Orpheus, and I did my full run, and I was super grateful and had a great time. Took my last bow and went to do the next production that I was on to do. And I left rehearsal one day and went to go meet my friend that was still in Hadestown for coffee, and got a call that was like, are you near the theater right now? I was like, yeah, I'm like right outside of the theater, just happenstance. And they were like, can you come to the dressing room and play Orpheus tonight? And
oh my God.
So it had been about a month since I had done it. Not crazy long, but that role is a a bit of a monster. It's so much singing and the guitar playing. So I was just immediately like, can someone grab me a guitar so I can remember how to play? And then, yeah, I made it through. I met a cast member who was also brought back in, Afra Hines, who is doing Funny Girl right now. We both were doing double duty, and it was like, nice to meet you. Let's watch some videos of the show and let's do a fight call, and here we go. But luckily, it all came back. And throughout the rest of that week, I mean, it was pretty wild because once again, COVID was affecting the cast and the crew, everyone, like we had just said. So little by little, each day felt like a family reunion because it was like, okay, Amber Gray is back in Hadestown tonight. Good to see you. My friend Kayla, who covered Eurydice, came back as well from the 6 tour. Amber Gray was in Macbeth. Like everyone's doing double duty, doing their shows, and then coming to Hadestown at night to reprise the roles that they had done months ago. So it felt like an alumni week of Hadestown, to be quite honest.
They need to make a reality show out of this. I mean, this is like the best idea for a TV show ever.
Literally. It was like we would be in the dressing rooms like, oh, like, how's your show? How's your actual show going? Or like, where did you fly in from today? Because someone else, Marianne Torres, flew in from Texas to come play a Fate. We had, it was just like such a wild time, but also it almost felt like summer camp in a way. It was just like old pals coming together and just hanging out, but also doing this like massive Broadway show at the same time.
I'm glad you were able to have fun with it because it just sounds so nerve-wracking that I'm glad that you were able to actually, enjoy your return ride. That is just incredible.
The only way, I think.
Yeah.
Like for my sanity, to just throw out the fact that, like we're not brain surgeons. Like we get to do something that we love. So like in these high stakes situations, like I'm not going to kill anyone. I'm just going to like do my favorite thing that I get to do. And it's fun. So that's how I get through it.
Yeah. Lenady, I would love to ask you about, I also had that other little bird just keeps chirping at me. And that little birdie told me that you became one of the first Latinx women to play Zoe in Dear Evan Hansen. So congratulations on that. That's amazing. I've seen a lot of prioritization of diversity in their casting after the original cast, and I'd love to see it. Tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
It's been amazing, always full of gratitude because it could be taken away like this, as we saw for 2 years. But definitely when my journey with Dear Evan Hansen started in 2019, imposter syndrome was there, of course, because I was like, I'm Latina. Like, I don't think this is not me. I don't think I could do this. And I'm just very grateful to have been given the opportunity, first and foremost, to showcase that, yes, I can do this. I can bring my spin. I can bring, my experience. And that's where it starts, just giving equal opportunity to everyone. And they've really, really, really made strides towards that and have really diversified their cast. And so it's just been an open and honest room, honestly. I haven't, everything has been positive in my experience, which I'm grateful for. Especially coming from On Your Feet, like 99% full Latino cast, to then Dear Evan Hansen, where I'm like, I feel kind of like a little lost. But it's been an amazing experience. I've really found my place there. And yeah.
Love hearing that. That's so great. I love, we all, I'm sure, can agree that one of the most tremendously special things about theater is the community and the family that you become. And so when you feel embraced, even when you are perhaps coming in and out, actually I'd love to talk to JJ, the other JJ. You've been in Book of Mormon, and what's the sense of community when and chemistry when you're coming in and out of something and you don't necessarily have maybe a stretch of, of a week at a time to really build all of that magic with with the people you're sharing the stage with?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, it's been really special. My situation there, I was there full time as a swing. Like that was my Broadway debut, right out of school, and was super, super fun. I was there for like 2.5 years. So from like June of 2017 through December 2019, and then obviously a few months later, like everything shut down. So coming back now as a vacation swing, and coming back, some weeks there, some weeks not. It's been obviously very different, but I've really loved it. I think the community has been really great. I think also like similar to what Lynette was saying with Dear Evan Hansen, like I feel like Book of Mormon has put a lot of work into, and I can really tell. I feel like genuinely, it always was a pretty great place to work, but it more so now than ever. I feel like really a sense of community, and I feel so fortunate to be there when I am there. And I feel like people are just so thankful. It's that gratitude energy that is the difference now. Sometimes with a long running show, I feel like, a bunch of people in this call can probably attest to that. Like sometimes in a long running show, people get a little, they get a little tired or whatnot. And you forget like how special and magical it is. And like, it still is a workplace. It's still a job. It's still hard work, and doing an 8-show week is no joke, but like, operating from that sense of gratitude in that place, I think is really important. And I'm seeing that so much. And it really just like, I don't know, it fills me with so much joy. It makes me so happy to be at work and see everyone do their thing. And similar to Jordan, I recently, like I'm in Mormon this week and I wasn't supposed to be there. It's kind of like a wild revolving door of like COVIDness and like, every single time I post on my Instagram story, I'm like, y'all, this is my last week, like for a little while, touch me. They're like, yeah, sure. And then next week I get a call. So it's been very much that.
Wow. I just couldn't respect all of you anymore. I really just have been dying to ask about nerves. Kathy, let's go back to you. Like, I have a hard time picturing what's the trick? What do you do to get over your own nerves? Because they have to be there, especially like with your particular recent situation.
Yes, they're always there. To deny them, you're fooling somebody and probably yourself. I always say that being a swing or an understudy, you are constantly studying for a test that you may or may not have to take. Wow. But when you do take that test, you have to ace it. So you do as much prep work as humanly possible. I have likened it to in your mind. If you saw the Queen's Gambit, you have that chessboard in your mind, and the queen goes this way and the pawn goes this way. So once you know one track, it sort of puts a couple other tracks in place. And the stage is sort of like your chessboard, and each person moves a certain way. And so once you know 2 tracks, adding a third one, okay, adding a fourth one. Okay. So they just our process of elimination. Preparation, not only in what you're doing for the show, but preparation and trying to keep your voice in shape, trying to keep your body in shape, all those little things that make you say, well, I've done everything I possibly can, and now I'm just going to rely on the ability and the experience and my community of actors. And particularly now, as JJ was saying, everyone was starving for it for 2 years. We were starving for human contact. We were starving to share stories. And we're the luckiest people on earth that we get to be in a community that's what we do. We connect every single day. And I'm so grateful that Broadway has come back, even with all the COVID compliance. I'm thrilled that we all get to share and tell a story and take a breath and laugh or cry or just share an experience with live theater, because there's nothing else like it. So that helps the nerves too, saying we're all telling this story tonight for you, the audience, the most important person here, not me, not if I flub this line. The most important people are the audience sharing this story with us.
Right. Yeah.
It takes the pressure off yourself a little bit.
Yeah. Whoa, that is so illuminating. And I absolutely adore your metaphors, both the test and the Queen's Gambit chessboard. Like those are mind-blowingly accurate, and I hadn't ever heard it put that way, and that's so fascinating. That's
Well,
so
my family, like we were discussing earlier, my family sometimes would be like, wait, so sometimes you're that person and sometimes you're not, and sometimes you're playing a game of cards backstage? I don't understand. So I was trying to explain them. Yes, I was that person in that costume last night, but tonight I was a different person, and it's a strange skill set for sure.
yeah.
It was just the only way I could think of that made any heads or tails of it.
Totally. Oh, wow. Let's talk about like who has a great story about a triumph, like when you felt so proud, or the flip side of the coin where you were so challenged, like maybe something, was playing against you, or you were just having bad luck that night, or I don't know. What are some of like the crazy both sides of the coin that any of you might have experienced? I'll open that up to anybody who might want to jump in. I know.
I'll tell a quick ridiculous story.
Please.
Because we swings get rehearsal when we get rehearsal, and sometimes we don't have a say of who we are in rehearsal that day. When I was doing Gentleman's Guide, I was learning Phoebe, who was the sweet kind of virginal one of the two characters, that afternoon. And I had to be Sibella that night, which no big deal, except that they had a whole door slamming sequence, and none of them were on straight beats or straight counts. They weren't symmetrical. So all afternoon I had been slamming the door as Phoebe, and that night I had to slam the door as Sibella, and there were mistakes. Mistakes were made, but we forgive ourselves, and we just hope the story is told. But that was the one time that my brain could not quite flip the switch as quickly as I had begged it to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I remember that scene so vividly too. I was totally picturing it as you were saying that. Wow. What are some of the other mishaps that, I mean, we all love we all love live theater because anything can happen, and you're up there without the net, you're on the high wire without the net. So what's one of the crazier things other than Karen's beads going all over the stage?
One time I got called to, Glenn couldn't finish the show. She did the first act, and I didn't have to be at the theater. And they told me I should be within like 10 minutes, and it was not cell phones. We were on pagers at that time. So my little pager, I was getting my hair colored and I'm sitting there with, tinfoil. And my little pager goes off, and it's like, call the theater, call the theater, call the theater, call the theater. And I called the theater and said, can you get over here now? Glenn can't finish the show, and we're at intermission. Get here now. So I went, yeah. Took all that stuff off my hair, got in a cab, vocalized in the cab, apologized to the cab driver, and got over to the theater. And within 15 minutes I had on, and the makeup was heavy. It was heavy, and wigs, and I was certainly not in, Joe, that I was not in that mindset at all. And so I got to the theater, got ready, and I think we waited like 2 or 3 minutes after intermission. And it starts with Joe Gillis singing. The second act starts with Joe Gillis singing Sunset Boulevard. So I had a little bit of time, which was great, to kind of twist my head around the fact that, as my husband said, I was a very well-paid insurance policy.
Oh man.
But you survive those things. You just do it, because that's what, you prepare, like Kathy said, You make sure you know it. And if something goes wrong,
Right.
oh, well.
And would you all kind of agree that audiences are perhaps more forgiving than we may give them credit for? Like,
I think they love to be there for that.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, to see to see the immediacy of it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, they really are getting the without a net version of the show that for that particular performance, even more so than it would be usually. And that's already a lot.
I mean, the first time I went
Yeah.
on, they did, I wanted to hear my name being said. So I turned on the monitor. Thank you, Kathy. That was a lesson I learned that first time. Because all you heard was boo, boo. I thought, okay, screw you. I'm turning that off. And it was, so I never listened again. But
and is that why they don't do that anymore? They don't do a voice of God announcement. And is that kind of primarily why?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, Catherine.
They still do.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. They still do. Yeah.
They have to do like 2 out of 3, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
that it?
I think
they
it
haven't had
depends.
time to put it in the program, right? If they haven't had time to do a stuffer, they have to
Oh,
do
so
an
if there's not an
announcement.
insert, then they have to. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Got you.
I remember when Ben Platt was still in Dear Evan Hansen, and he was really sick, and was and he's on stage for almost the whole show, and then the very few instances that he goes off stage, he was like throwing up in a bucket. I mean, it was really bad,
no.
and so they made the call to put his standby on, and we were all backstage like so nervous. This is right around the Tonys, I think, and we were so nervous, what the audience would say, and they made that live announce, and everybody cheered, and we were just so excited. I think the audience loves to peer behind the curtain.
Yes.
And that's why we have live theater.
Yeah.
That's why people come to see it. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I so agree with you. And what's the other question that came to mind is, I had so many friends of a certain era when I first came to New York that were either standbys, and there were rules about having Karen, you reminded me of this talking about the pager, because this was before cell phones. So I remember friends that like the rule was because you weren't as reachable. So the rules were different because you had to be within a certain mileage of the theater and you had to do some checking in, and there were rules that I think are kind of outmoded. So what's the procedure now? Do you still have to be within a certain range so that if you were needed in a hurry that you could get there? And how do you find out? What's the general communication?
We have to be in the theater proper. Most of us, I'm imagining.
Yeah, same.
There's a point of no return usually in every show where you can't get someone on stage anyway unless you stop the piece. And that's usually like second to the last scene or something like that. But every show is different. Feel free to chime in, anybody, if you get to leave super early or anything.
No, that happens sometimes. I mean, it's the same thing like with Mormon. Yeah. I mean, like everybody's there. All the standbys are there. I mean, yes, we have like a text string with our stage manager. So now it's just like the in out sheet is in a group with all the swings, understudies, and standbys, just at least for our show. And you can leave, when the person you cover enters stage for the last time, that's when we're allowed to leave, because there have been times where like literally right before the finale, it's like, you got to go on, babe. Like someone's, like you said, throwing up in a
Wow.
bucket, something like that, or like rolled their ankle off stage. You never know.
Woo! It's not for the faint of heart. Not for the faint of heart. Catherine, we were talking with Lynette a little bit ago about the diversity factor in Dear Evan Hansen, and I know you and I got a chance to catch up recently backstage for a project I was working on for Sirius XM, and I'd love to get a little of your perspective for that. I mean, Company, this version of Company is groundbreaking for many reasons. And I just love that it's a cast that looks like New York looks like. And that's only really increasing as far as I can tell with the number of, I mean, I think last week you had a performance where there were 6 of you that were that were swinging in. And so you said a couple of things that were very touching to me backstage when we were chatting about the diversity factor for Company and what it means for like audience members that are seeing you and things like that. Would you mind sharing some of those feelings with us tonight?
Sure, yeah. I loved our little conversation before, so this is very cool that we get to, I guess, reprise a little snippet. But yeah, for me, I never thought that I would do a Sondheim show again. I did one in college. I did Company in college, actually. And so I really thought, I was like, well, that'll be that. I don't think I'll probably touch that again for the rest of my career. And so being able to do this show and being a plus size person and being a Black woman and of Latinx descent to do this show means so much. And knowing that someone is out in the audience watching is important to me. And I know that before the pandemic started, there were young women coming up to me who were plus size being like, I'm so happy that you were in the show. I saw you and I'm just really excited, and seeing that there's, an avenue for me, and knowing that there's so many other artists out there that want to do this and sees themselves on stage is really encouraging. And yeah, we're having a ball. And yesterday we had 10 out of our 13 understudies were on. So it was a colorful show, and it was beautiful, and it was really exciting. It was really, really exciting.
Wow, that is so tremendous. In such continuous awe of all of you. So let's talk about how you think, just as we were mentioning a little bit at the top of our time together, about the pandemic being what has brought a little bit more awareness, a little more attention, hopefully a lot more appreciation. But you're the one, many of you are the ones walking in those shoes today. So for any of you that, have been in this situation prior to the pandemic, can you talk to us a little bit about how the pandemic has help us hone in on how the pandemic has made your role all the more important, and how that's affecting you and your crew, audiences? Like, go from any angle. Is there anybody that could? What about you, Lady?
I mean, with Dear Evan Hansen, the topic of the show, mental health, social media. I mean, it was therapeutic in itself to sing "You Will Be Found" all together again, and hear all those voices and the message of that song, to speak those words, to, talk about the struggle. I don't think I speak for myself when I say that COVID has affected us all in so many different ways, and so I'm not only grateful to have the avenue of doing what I love and performing and emoting and releasing in that way, but also through that show and the message of that show. It's definitely been a blessing and therapeutic and healing for me and audiences, the outpouring of love and all the comments and messages that we get, because we have a virtual stage door, as many shows do now, due to the pandemic. And it's just, I'm very grateful to be in this show, especially right now, because not that mental health is never important, but coming out of the pandemic and, having the opportunity to be in the show again has just been kind of like full circle, and also, meant to be in therapeutic.
I bet. Tell us more about the virtual stage door. Not everybody may know about that. How does that work?
Does somebody know a little more than that about that? All I know is we did a little cute video that was like, "Hey, sorry, but because of the pandemic, like we can't say hi. We would love to, but scan this QR code and then you can see this video and see our autograph." I don't know. Somebody else, please.
Is anyone else's show doing a virtual stage tour?
No. So maybe
I
it's
think
because the virtual
it sounds really cool. Whatever that was.
I know. I think it's just like a little QR code audience members can scan. They see that video of us waving, saying hi, that we're so sorry we can't come, and meet them and sign. But please understand it's because of the pandemic and we can't wait again, until the day that we can, interact or whatever again. I think that's it.
Wow. I think it really has, they say, what's that phrase? The mother of invention is necessity, and so we've by necessity had to come up with other ways of handling certain things. And I think it's so wonderful how adaptable everyone has become to just with the eye on the prize of keeping live theater going. And all of you have shown such commitment, not only in what you do, but in the extra things that a lot of people don't see, like all the testing that you have to have done every few days, and wearing masks when you're in certain areas backstage, when you're not on stage. I was backstage somewhere recently where I saw like the shoe pouch, which might normally be for props or water bottles, things you got to grab, but it was everyone's masks. There was like their own shoe bag for masks back there so that they could like put them on as soon as they came off stage. So your commitment is just incredible. And I applaud all of you, and your insights are simply amazing. We're going to have more of that to come, but we also have some raffle prizes. I love prizes. I don't know. That's like, there's my inner game show host is going to come out. So we are really grateful to the sponsors of our event tonight because they sent us some fun swag. And I think everybody has a little bit of their, if you want to show off some of your swag, really cool stuff like a Broadway subscription box, and I can't wait to work with those like Faber-Castell watercolor things.
My daughters give them a big thumbs up. They're 10 and 12, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to use them because they are obsessed. So, Faber-Castell, well done.
Amazing. So we are going to play Wheel of Powell's. You guys can't see Powell's, but he is our fearless leader behind the scenes, stage managing us tonight. So it is time to spin the wheel for tonight's raffle. And I'm really excited that our audience is going to get to win some of these fabulous prizes. For our first raffle, 5 winners are going to receive 2 tickets to the ride and 2 tickets to the tour. Both tours take guests on stunning bus tours from Times Square. The ride is a 75-minute route where award-winning comedic hosts welcome you aboard their moving theater, which navigates through Midtown Manhattan and Times Square. And the tour maneuvers a 90-minute route exploring 10 of NYC's most fascinating neighborhoods and 55 history-drenched landmarks, including Lincoln Center, Central Park, Fifth Avenue, Rockefeller Center, Radio City Music Hall, the Garment District, Empire State Building, Times Square, Columbus Circle, Madison Avenue, New York Public Library, Bryant Park, the world famous 42nd Street, Move Your Feet, that dancing beat, the 42nd Street, and more. The 40 LCD TVs, surround sound, and thousands of LED lights add to this VIP experience of the world's greatest city. So, Powell's, can we please spin for our 5 winners? 11. 1. Number 13, lucky number 13. Number 7, another very lucky number. Hurrah, it's number 31. Made it into the double digits. Congratulations, everyone. I want to go on those, don't you?
Yeah.
I love to play tourist in our own town. I think it's a really fun thing to do, and that sounds fantastic. Okay, for our next level of prizes, we have Broadway Boxed Up is offering a Broadway merchandise gift box, a variety of items inspired by Broadway musicals, including an embroidered apron, pocket watch, towel. Oh, yes, I love the Sweeney apron. Thank you for showing that off. Beanie hat, beach throw, tumbler, mug, bowl, silverware, water bottle, and more. So, Powell's, we're doing this one at a time, right? This one? I think yes. Go ahead and spin that wheel. Number 118. You are the lucky winner. Fabulous. Broadway Makers Basket and Gift Certificate. The Broadway Makers Marketplace, if you guys don't know about this, is a unique shopping experience created for Broadway fans by Broadway fans. This basket offers over $150 of theater-related products, including memorabilia, souvenirs, and wearables from the top Broadway small businesses, and a $100 gift certificate to the Broadway Makers Marketplace. So Wheel of Powell's, take it away. $137. You are the lucky winner. That's a really cool place if you don't know about it, underneath the Columbus Circle subway station. Next up, we have 2 tickets to see Jersey Boys at New World Stages. Jersey Boys is, of course, the international musical phenomenon that takes you behind the scenes and behind the music of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. And one winner is receiving 2 tickets to see this incredible story off Broadway at New World Stages. Wheel of Powell's. That is a 121. 121.
Yay.
Yay for you. We also have 2 tickets to The Islander. One winner will receive a pair of tickets to see this new musical at Playhouse 46 in Manhattan. It's the winner of Musical Theater Review's Best New Musical at Edinburgh Fringe 2019. Islander is an intimately staged show with a contemporary Scottish folk-inspired score and epic storytelling. Pauls, who will be the winner? 136. Congratulations. Okay, shows galore. 2 pairs of tickets to see Americano. You're receiving a pair of tickets to see this show at New World Stages. It's a new musical with an energetic score by the Americana singer-songwriter Carrie Rodriguez and exuberant choreography by Sergio Mejia. Powell's, spin that wheel. Number 114. Congratulations. Hope you enjoy the show. All right, moving right along. This is a really hot one with a lot of buzz. It's 2 tickets to A Strange Loop, which will be coming to the Lyceum Theater on Broadway. So 2 people have the chance to attend a performance of this exciting new musical written by Michael R. Jackson. He won the Pulitzer Prize, one of the few for a musical. It's blisteringly funny. Powell's, who's it going to be?
Yeah.
113. Congratulations. Now, I promise I didn't actually have anything to do with this, but my Sirius XM on Broadway cohort, Seth Rudetsky, does fabulous shows all over the country, but he's doing a series here. And it's going to be at the town hall featuring Tony winner Jane Krakowski. So Seth, of course, is the unofficial mayor of Broadway, an incredible music director and host, and he's welcoming Jane on September 12th to the town hall. And one winner is receiving a pair of tickets to see this one night only concert. Pals, you know what to do. 138. Congratulations to you. All right. So we have a grand prize. It's pretty spectacular. One winner will receive a 2-night stay at the NH Collection New York Madison Avenue Hotel. One winner receives a stay at this new hotel in the heart of Midtown. It's offering refined European luxury and savvy mid-century design choices, situated right next to the city's top attractions. And during your stay, you'll also attend a performance of Broadway's long-running musical, Chicago. Cue that Candor and Ebb vamp. Currently celebrating its 26th year on Broadway at the Ambassador Theater. And I actually know I have the special powers. The winner for this fabulous prize is, drum roll please, number 1000. Congratulations. That's quite the amazing package grand prize winner. Congratulations to all our winners tonight, and thank you for entering tonight's raffle. How fun was that? I may not be Pat Sajak, but you know, we did our best, and Pals was my Vanna. We decided that it would be really fun, since we talked so much about it at the front of the show, to share with you, in case you hadn't seen it or you just need to get those goosebumps going again. Here is this amazing clip from the curtain call of The Music Man from the night where Kathy Voitko went on for the role of Marion Peru. Take a look.
Yes, to buying the ticket, whatever you bought. It could have been 2 years ago, I don't know. You bought it. Thank you. But even after that announcement by our incredible director, Jerry Zaks, you still said yes, and you stayed, and you were here with us for a night that I can promise you is unprecedented in Broadway history. And I understand how disappointed you all must have felt. Sutton Foster is one of the most beloved people in our industry, and she is honestly one of the greatest actresses, singers, dancers of her generation. Her Marion Peru is definitive. However, tonight, the reason I'm out here talking, and shut me up, I talk up too is I want to pay tribute to my leading lady tonight, Kathy. Tell you a little something that you may not know. Yes, Kathy is the understudy for Sutton Foster. She's also what's known as a swing in our business. Now, a swing covers up to 10 roles. So they all know and learn 10 roles. Kathy, when she turned up for work at 12 o'clock, could have played any of 8 roles. 8 roles. The leading lady. At 12 noon today, and at 1 o'clock, she had her very first rehearsal as Marion Peru.
Wow.
Woo! Oh man, that just gives all the feels. All the
You were talking
feels.
about community. You saw that whole company jumping up and down. was the best, actually. I mean, Hugh's pretty dreamy, sure, but my pals in the company, that's why we do it, to be a part of that amazing Broadway supportive community.
Yeah. And what were they doing that night to lift you through? Because I imagine that takes a village to a certain degree. I feel like when one of you is on, it's like heightens everyone else's reality around you too, because especially in a longer running show where people may have gotten a little comfy, it kind of like raises stakes and makes everybody kind of have to be, you know, extra on point. But my guess is that you had a lot of people in your cast lifting you up that night and kind of.
There's nobody on this panel that doesn't know the term "shove with love." And you freely say, I know exactly where I think I'm supposed to be, but if where exactly I think I'm supposed to be is a little wrong, shove with love.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
A good company member will give you a loving shove.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh. And now for my very hard hitting journalism. You know, I like to ask the really hard hitting questions. What was it like kissing Hugh Jackman?
Dreadful.
Good. That's what we all wanted to hear.
I mean, he was riddled with COVID. It's great. Thumbs up. I'm going to give 2 thumbs up.
Okay. Yeah. 2 thumbs up, would recommend. 10 out of 10 would recommend. That's amazing. Well, this has been just a tremendous visit with all of you, and you've been so enlightening. We have a few minutes left to share together. Let's go back to Ted, since you are sort of our what's the phrase I want? The rose among thorns? No, that can't be right.
Oh, kind of the opposite.
I just mean one of these things is not like the other. See if you can tell which one. We've heard a little bit from the actors in the room about their moment, you know, the preparatory steps that are kind of what leads them through a high stress, high pressure situation. And how does that translate to your role?
Well, I think, you know, on Broadway, the music directors and conductors have basically understudies or subs. All the musicians have subs. And so the way that the musicians work is that you don't really get a put-in or a rehearsal. You prepare kind of in isolation. You're given the book, you're given, you know, you go through the book with the conductor or the person that plays every night, and they give you a little piece of advice to say, okay, now make sure you watch this or listen to this person here. But the first time you actually play the show is when you're doing it at the show. So it can be quite stressful. And as a conductor, when you're sub-conducting a show, you know, a lot is riding on the conductor for cues for the actors or for the musicians. So it's just a lot of preparation, you know, and now with COVID, it's even more vital that there's some backup. That's kind of how I fell into Moulin Rouge. There just was like very little coverage there, and the conductor did not get COVID, has not gotten COVID. And so, you know, you're looking down into the future and thinking, oh my gosh, worst case scenario. So it's just a lot of preparation. But I also want to say, you know, we were talking a little earlier about how things have changed with COVID. And I can say on the creative side, there's been a lot more push to involving the swings early. I'm supervising the Moulin Rouge tour right now. And from the very beginning, it was, you know, let's get the swings in as soon as we can, in rehearsals with the principals, or literally devoting an entire tech day to getting the swings on stage, in the lights, in situ, and just, you know, having that. And it's really paid off so much, because in the past 4 days, we've had 3 principals go down, and their understudies have just seamlessly gone in. So I think we're seeing a lot of that now. There's a lot more, you know, forethought into getting the swings ready to go, which I think is great.
Yeah.
That is so great. That is great. I'm so glad you mentioned that because, well, you know, in your role, you're a leader. So you're having to come in to a situation and lead, you know, and that must be challenging in a situation that's new or, you know, that you haven't been doing all the time because, you know, the whole pit is depending on you and your leadership. Talk with us a little bit about the specifics since we have been hearing so much about the actor experience. It must have been a bit nerve-wracking when you have, I mean, the pit is a very tight space usually, and you have a lot of spit and things blowing blowing around for a lot of, you know, especially if you're a brass or a wind player. Must have been a bit nerve-wracking in the beginning, you know, particularly in the beginning of the comeback, for all of those reasons and more, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I think, Broadway houses are so small backstage that people are changing like right next to each other, and the pit is no exception. I mean, we're literally like sitting on top of each other, like in an airplane. I mean, you're really crunched in, and so that's always been a thing. Some people in the pit do wear. I remember for Diana, some people were wearing masks when they weren't playing. They make special masks for you. There's like a little flap that you can play your instrument through. But as a conductor, it was always scary because you are literally the closest person to the audience. They're literally like 2 feet behind you, and so that was always stressful. About, do I wear a mask when I conduct? And I started off wearing a mask conducting, and then the actors mentioned, like, it's so hard to see that, because they really rely on your face, facial expressions,
Good
giving lyrics and things. So I ended up taking it off, and it's just calculated risk, I guess.
Yeah, like practically everything in the theater.
Right.
Jordan, I would love to ask you a little more about that really unique situation that did happen at Hadestown for several of you. You mentioned it, as well as Amber Gray and Afra Hines. You had said your goodbyes, and I think that that's one really fascinating part of your roles as actors. Some shows like what was it, Frozen and Mean Girls, didn't get to say goodbye to their shows, and I always felt a little badly for them, because when you're either leaving a show or a show is closing, you get that sense of finality, you get a sense of closure, you get to say goodbye to your baby. And I always felt badly that those shows didn't get that opportunity. For the individuals from Hadestown that I just named, there's a goodbye. I mean, especially Amber, it was like there were all these tributes, and, I was watching Eva's, Instagram stories, and she was taking us through the whole 2 shows of saying goodbye. And there was so much emotion. There's so much emotion on everyone's part, but also for you as actors who have said your goodbye. It must have been so particularly wild to, find yourself back inside something that you had, put sort of a button on for yourself. Can you elaborate on how you and any of your castmates were feeling in that situation?
Yeah, no, it's exactly that. It was super wild because the emotions that come with leaving a show and knowing that this is the final time you're doing it. I mean, throughout the entire show, you're thinking, oh, this is the last time I sing this song, or this is the last time I hold this person's hand. So you're just like, for me, my original last show at Hadestown, I was just trying not to cry the whole time because I love the role so much. And so the second last time, I was just like, is this goodbye? Like, I wasn't crying as much because I was like, this could very well happen again. It was funny because we shared it with each other, like Amber and Kayla and everyone who came back, that we all experienced together each other's last shows. Even like Amber left the show after I left, but I came back to see her last show, So we all were there to support each other on their last shows. So to me, it was delightful, especially because my Broadway debut was understudying, or I was the standby for Tony in West Side Story, that latest revival.
Okay.
And we didn't get a last show.
You didn't get one either, right?
No, not at all. And I actually performed as Tony the last day that Broadway was open. So I'm just thinking like, oh, I'm on and this is it. And that was the last time that production ever happened. So it was really sad, and we didn't see each other to like say goodbye to the show. So I was just grateful that I at least got to have it twice with Hadestown and with the great people. So.
And at least you did get to, was that the only time that you had gone on for Tony, or had there been other times?
No, in the first week of previews, Isaac, who played the role, got injured. And
that's right.
Yeah, he went into surgery. So they told me, hey, you're playing Tony for the matinee. And then after the matinee, they were like, you're playing Tony for the next month. And then even when he came back, we kind of split the role, and he did 6 and I did 2. So I did the matinees. So I had played Tony a good amount of times.
Yeah. Well, that's another great aspect to hear about, either from you, Jordan, or anybody else that may want to weigh in. How does it feel when we think of it so often as this, spur of the moment, not a lot of notice, just that show. But sometimes you do find yourself in a situation where you get a string of performances, or someone's out for vacation, or with COVID, that's something we didn't really have before, where somebody is going to be out for a number of days. Talk with us a little bit about your experience of when you do get to actually sit into it a little bit. I bet that must be really satisfying.
Oh, totally. It was super satisfying. Oh, yeah. And I'll just be quick. Just because I got to tell people, that was the main thing. Like, a lot of folks didn't understand, like, I don't know when I'm going on. But the fact that I had the ability to say, no, you can come all of these days and I will be on, was just a blessing. So.
Absolutely. What about you, Catherine?
Yeah, I think that's like the main thing for me too, is like being able to tell my friends and family, and they're not the day of being like, oh, we can't make the 2 p.m. because we planned all of these things, So I think that's really exciting. And then, we don't really get a preview period. We don't get the time to kind of work out kinks in front of the audience, what laugh is going to work here, what's not going to work there. So being able to have that stretch of time to work out little things here and there is such a gift, instead of those sporadic 1 or 2s.
Yeah, I just picture it as being very satisfying to get to kind of like, get more than one, get more than one shot to, and you find, because as actors, I'm sure you're finding things just like any actor would as they get to know a role. They're on the ride. They're finding things. They're playing, oh, what if I play it this way this time, or what if I play around with it that way another time, and just get all that creativity out there. I think that's wonderful. But it must be, so what did your friends and family think? Like, were they so happy that they got a chance to actually come and see you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I hope they spoiled you and treated you like a star.
Oh yeah. We went to juniors after. It was
yes. That's what I'm talking about. Kathy, since we, had that just delightful look at that touching video, I imagine that must have been a pretty big high. And then after that, was it like, well, now I've played now I have to think about all the other, dozen parts that I have to do. And what ended up happening after that?
We were the Walking Wounded. We had 14 people out the next day. Wow. So it wasn't like we got to luxuriate and say, woohoo, I'm just going to sit here in Marion for a minute. Like, the next day we had a spacing rehearsal because we had to respace everything with 14 people out. And so I only was on 3 times before we had 19 cases. And at that point, we didn't have enough people in River City to tell the story anymore. So then they canceled. River City was looking real skinny. Then they canceled the show that week because both
they didn't have time to make tumbleweeds.
Exactly. It would have been. And Max Clayton, the fabulous Max Clayton, who's our standby, also got COVID. So it was a disastrous And our very kind producers were like, okay, we're calling it. But to Ted's point, it's one of those things that I think that now producers know. They say, oh, it's so expensive to have a standby, but it's way more expensive to cancel the show.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So having extra coverage, like Catherine was saying, how many covers there are at company is actually a better investment. And particularly when you have extraordinary people like her jumping in, and the best day in our swing life is when nobody knows that we're on. When they say, oh, the show was great. I didn't even know anybody was in.
Totally.
That's the best day for us and for the people who actually get all the money.
Well said. I think that as we continue to reach for our silver linings through this incredible, challenging time that we've been all going through, that I do see signs of change, and I do see, that show must go on. I mean, we do want the show to go on. Of course, that's what all of us sitting here want, and it's what the audience wants. But I do sense more sensitivity happening around what does that require then? What are the resources that and how to not push? There are stories from years gone by of people being kind of pushed to go on even when they maybe weren't feeling their best, or pushed it a little too far. And now I feel like we're building up some sensitivity in this situation that I hope will only add to all of your circumstances, so that you have the best possible scenarios going forward for yourselves. Well, this has been so incredible. Just what a valuable wealth of information all of you have given us, just peeling back the curtain and helping us understand this supremely unique situation. And I hope everyone is applauding along with me, these fabulously talented, skilled, and very special individuals who seriously have Olympic levels of talent and strength and stamina and temerity and brain power to truly do the miraculous night after night after night. So I really send so much love and appreciation across my screen to you. We're getting some feedback down below. Seriously, each and every one of you, thank you for your time. For many of you, it's your one night off. So thank you for spending your valuable time sharing with us tonight. Thank you to the New York Theater Barn for hosting this incredible seat at the table event. Thank you to everyone who tuned in with us tonight. And I want to thank everyone behind the scenes that made this possible, and most especially the incredible Joe Barros. Thank you one and all, and we'll see you at the theater.
Thank you.